I'm 29 and thought I had the kind of marriage that other people envied. My husband, Nate, and I had been together for 6 years, married for 3, and while things weren't perfect, I genuinely believed we were solid. We traveled often, shared everything, and I could have sworn he still looked at me like I was the best part of his world. I wasn't naive. I knew marriages took work, but I honestly thought we were doing okay. Then one morning, everything started to crack. It was a Sunday. Nate had gone out for a jog like he always did, and I was scrolling through my phone with a coffee in hand, half asleep, when I opened Instagram and my stomach dropped. There, in the Explore tab, clear as day, was a photo of Nate at a beach bonfire I hadn't attended. Not a huge deal, maybe. He had friends I didn't always hang out with. But what made my hands go cold was the woman beside him. She was leaning into him. Way too close. Hair tangled with his, laughing with her hand resting on his chest. And Nate? He had that familiar smile on his face, the one he usually reserved for me. At first, I thought maybe it was old. Maybe something from years ago, before we got together. But then I noticed the details. His new watch, her neon pink nails, matching a color I'd seen in a salon post just 2 days ago. No one had tagged him. But the account belonged to a mutual friend, someone I barely knew, but enough that it wasn't private. And just like that, the questions started eating at me. Who was she? When was this? Why hadn't he told me? By the time Nate walked back through the front door, dripping sweat and cheerful, I was already pretending nothing had happened. But I'd started the countdown. I wasn't going to confront him yet. Not until I had more than a photo. Because something deep in my gut whispered that this wasn't just a fling. This was something else. Something worse. I spent the rest of that Sunday acting like everything was fine. I smiled, laughed at Nate's stupid jokes, even helped him prep dinner like nothing was wrong. But inside? I was spiraling. That night, while he was in the shower, I went back to the Instagram account that posted the photo. It belonged to a girl named Erin. We'd met her once, at a friend's birthday barbecue last year. She was the type who documented everything, so I figured if there was more to find, it'd be in her feed. I scrolled back, skimming through her chaotic grid of drinks, sunsets, and selfies, until I found it. Another photo from the same night. Same bonfire. This time, Nate was holding a marshmallow stick, and the woman from the first picture was feeding him something, laughing, leaning close. The caption was vague, best kind of night's crescent moon fire, with a bunch of emojis. But it was the comments that chilled me. One said, "You and Jess look so cute together. Finally." Another had just 3 words, "Took you long enough." I froze. Jess. I didn't know anyone named Jess. Not in Nate's circle. Not in mine. Definitely not in any story he'd told about grabbing drinks with coworkers or meeting up with an old classmate. And yet, there she was, clear as daylight, smiling like she belonged. I clicked her tagged profile. Private. But the bio? It was short and sickeningly familiar, dizzy taken dizzy dot. And right beside it? A padlock emoji, and Nate's initials. I couldn't breathe. My chest felt like it had caved in. There was no denying it anymore. This wasn't some random party pic or innocent hangout. This was a relationship. A secret, full-fledged relationship, right under my nose. But what Nate didn't know, what he couldn't have predicted, was that I'd just been given a front-row seat to all of it. And I wasn't going to look away. Not until I knew exactly who Jess was, and how long she'd been taking what was mine. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, all I could see was that photo, his stupid grin, her hand on his chest, and those comments like they were some kind of inside joke I was never meant to hear. Nate was lying next to me, breathing evenly, completely at peace. Meanwhile, I was unraveling in silence, my mind looping every memory with fresh suspicion. By morning, I had a plan. I didn't confront him. Not yet. I knew better than to walk into this half-prepared. I needed more than speculation and screenshots. I needed answers. So while Nate left for work like any other day, I opened his old iPad, the one he rarely used anymore. We kept it in the kitchen drawer, mostly for recipes and watching Netflix. But what he didn't know was that months ago, I'd synced all our devices to the same cloud. It was a lazy setup choice, one he probably forgot about. But it meant I could see anything he backed up, photos, messages, even notes. The first thing I checked was the photo app. That's where I found them. Not 1. Not 2. But dozens of pictures of him and Jess. At restaurants I'd never been to. In parks I'd never visited. On days when he'd told me he was working late or going to a friend's thing. Some selfies. Some clearly taken by her. One where he was napping with his head in her lap, smiling like a kid at peace. And then I found the one that broke me. It was a video. Short. Maybe 10 seconds. She was filming him from across a bed, her voice laughing as he threw a pillow at the camera and told her, "Okay, you win, Jess. You always win. You always win." That phrase echoed in my head like a curse. I closed the iPad, my hands trembling. Every moment of our life together now felt like a lie stitched together by convenience. Every "I love you," every night he held me close, it all turned to static. And still, I didn't cry. Not yet. Because I wasn't done. I wanted to know how deep this went, how long he'd been hiding her, and what else he might be hiding, right under my nose. After finding those photos and that video, I wasn't angry, I was clinical. Numb. Like I was studying someone else's life, someone else's husband. It didn't feel real, not yet. But I knew that if I let my emotions take over, I'd crash before I got the full story. So I kept digging. I went into his emails next. Nate wasn't dumb. He used a separate Gmail for work and had a clean inbox in the one we shared. But people get sloppy. They forget things. And sure enough, tucked into the promotions tab was a notification from a hotel app. "Thanks for your recent stay at Seaside Bliss Resort." We hadn't gone anywhere in months. I clicked on the email. 2 nights. 1 ocean view room. Booked under Nate's full name. The date? Just last weekend. He told me he was visiting a friend from college who had just had surgery. He even FaceTimed me from what looked like a hospital parking lot. But now that I looked again, that background had no signs, just a bunch of cars and a generic building behind him. The email didn't mention who checked in with him. But it had a link to sync the trip to your calendar. So I clicked it. That's when I saw something else pop up, his hidden calendar. Nate had a separate calendar on his phone, labeled private. Normally hidden from our shared Google account. But syncing the hotel trip exposed it. There were multiple entries, stretching back months. Dinners. Meetups. Overnights. Every single one carefully marked J or work dinner. Some were even labeled with little inside jokes like sunset sushi or picnic at our spot. Our spot? I felt sick. It was like reading a script from a movie he filmed behind my back. A second life, complete with its own rhythm and routine. Then I scrolled forward. And found something worse. A reservation for 2-3 weeks from now. A weekend getaway in the mountains. 5 stars. Romantic suite. Labeled, Anniversary Redo Red Heart. That was supposed to be our anniversary weekend. We'd skipped it this year because he said work was too busy. Said he felt awful about it, promised we'd make it up later. And now? Now I knew who he was planning to take instead. I stared at that calendar entry, Anniversary Redo Red Heart, like it was written in fire. My hands were ice cold, but my face was burning. He wasn't just cheating. He was replacing me. Using the scraps of our marriage, the lies he fed me, to build a romance with someone else. And the worst part? He was doing it like it was normal. Like it wasn't devastating. Like I didn't exist. I shut the iPad, heart pounding, and sat there for what felt like hours. Just breathing. Just existing in a house I suddenly didn't recognize. But I still wasn't done. I opened my laptop and logged into our joint banking account. I wasn't looking for proof, I had that. I was looking for motive. And that's when I found it. In the past 2 months, Nate had withdrawn over $10,000 from our savings. Little by little. 1,000 here, 2,000 there. Always followed by some vague note, car stuff, loan payback, gift. But we don't owe anyone money. His car's fully paid off. And as far as I knew, we hadn't bought gifts for anyone lately. Then came the dumbest mistake he could have made. One of the transactions, $1,200, was labeled, Jess B-Day Trip Party Popper. He hadn't even tried to hide it. I looked at the date. It matched the hotel email. So not only was he taking her away on a romantic trip while lying to my face about seeing a sick friend, he used our joint savings to fund it. Money I earned. Money we'd been saving to renovate the guest room into a nursery one day. That one broke me. Not the cheating. Not the photos. The idea that he used the future we planned to finance a fantasy with another woman. But he didn't just steal money. He stole time. And now I was going to take it all back, one step at a time. By now, I had enough evidence to blow everything up, photos, videos, transactions. But I didn't want a fight. I wanted a clean ending. One that left him no space to twist the story or play the victim. He needed to feel what I felt, powerless, small, blindsided. So I kept calm. Pretended. That night, I made dinner like always. I kissed him when he walked in. I asked how work was. He lied. Smooth as ever. Said it was stressful, that he might have to work the weekend. Of course he would. His anniversary redo was getting closer. But while he was in the shower, I made one last move. I remembered an old Bluetooth speaker we kept in the drawer, one of those voice-controlled smart ones we barely used anymore. I plugged it in, connected it to my phone, and paired it with our Home Assistant app. Then I checked the voice logs. And there it was. The command history. Most were mine or Nate's usual ones, playlists, timers, weather. But one stood out. A recording from last Thursday night. Timestamped 1:43 a.m. I hit play. The voice was soft, female, a little tipsy. Jess. She was laughing. Whispering something about next time and hiding better. And then I heard Nate's voice, low and quiet, "You shouldn't talk so loud. She's asleep upstairs." The rest was muffled, more giggles, what sounded like a kiss, and the unmistakable sound of footsteps moving away. In my house. In my living room. While I slept upstairs thinking I was loved. I sat there in the dark, listening to the silence after the audio cut off. And for the first time since this started, I cried. Not because I missed him, but because I knew exactly what I had to do next. I woke up the next morning with a strange calm in my chest, like something had snapped into place. The crying was done. The shock was over. And what remained was clarity. Nate left early, claimed he had a big meeting downtown. He kissed my forehead on the way out like always, and for the first time, I didn't flinch. I let him do it. Let him walk out the door thinking I was still asleep to everything. He didn't know that his whole world was about to implode. Once he was gone, I got to work. I copied everything I had, screenshots, audio files, emails, calendar entries, and dropped them into a neatly organized folder labeled for Nate. Then I printed out the bank statement with Jess' B-Day trip party popper circled in red ink like a grade school teacher marking a test he'd failed. I tucked it all into a plain envelope. Then, I wrote a letter. No screaming. No accusations. Just the facts. The date I found the photo. The names of the hotels. The receipts. The voice recording. And at the end, one final line: "You didn't just cheat on your wife, you built a second life inside her home." I placed the envelope on his pillow. But that wasn't the only thing I planned. I contacted a locksmith and changed every lock in the house. I packed up all his clothes, his shoes, his toiletries, everything he could possibly claim, and left them in neat boxes by the front door. I even included his stupid "World's Best Husband" mug. Then I sent him one text. "You've been found. Your things are outside. Do not enter this house again." And then I waited. Not to see his reaction, but to feel what it was like to finally have the power. It took Nate exactly 13 minutes to respond to my message. I watched my phone light up with his name, over and over, calls, texts, voice messages. The panic in his words was so obvious it almost made me laugh. Suddenly I was his world, his wife, his everything. He was begging to talk, swearing there was an explanation. There wasn't. And I wasn't interested in hearing one. I ignored every single message. Then, around 3 p.m., I heard the sound of tires screeching outside. I peeked through the blinds and there he was, storming up the driveway, eyes wild, face flushed. He saw the boxes on the porch and froze. That's when he tried the door. Locked. He knocked once. Then again. Louder. Eventually, he started shouting my name. Telling me to just talk, like all this was just a miscommunication. That's when he spotted the envelope taped to the window. He tore it off, opened it right there. And I watched as his face fell. He stood still for a long time, just holding the papers, skimming through everything like he couldn't believe what he was seeing. Then, in a moment I'll never forget, he looked straight at the door and whispered, like he was saying it to himself, "How the hell did she find all this?" I didn't answer. He sat on the porch steps for maybe 20 minutes. Then he got up, shoved his boxes into the back of his car, and drove off. Not a single word. That was the last time I saw him. But it wasn't the last I heard of him. Because Jess? She wasn't going to let it go that easy. 3 days later, I got a message on Facebook. It was from a name I instantly recognized, Jess Martin. No mutual friends. Just a profile picture of her in a tight red dress, hair perfectly curled, lips curled into a smile like she already knew she was a problem. The message was short. "I didn't know you were so fragile. But thanks for making it easier for me." No explanation. No apology. Just that smug little taunt like she'd won some sort of prize. I didn't reply. She didn't deserve a word from me. But I clicked on her profile anyway, just to see. That's when I saw the post. It was a selfie. Her in Nate's hoodie. Sitting on a couch I didn't recognize, but one of the throw pillows looked awfully familiar. The caption? Good men don't stay single for long, winking face. And the comments were flooded with her friends hyping her up. Laughing emojis. Heart eyes. One even said, "So happy you finally got what you wanted, 2 hearts hot." She wasn't hiding it anymore. She wanted me to see it. To feel it. But what she didn't realize was she'd been handed damaged goods. The man she stole lied, cheated, and burned down everything we built just to feed his own ego. She didn't win anything. She just inherited the mess he made. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just blocked her. Because people like Jess thrive on attention. They want to know they got under your skin. And I wasn't giving her the satisfaction. But something about that post, that smug confidence, stayed with me. Because I had one last move to make. One she never saw coming. The final blow came quietly. No drama. No screaming. No confrontation. Just a perfectly timed delivery. 2 weeks after Nate moved out and Jess made her little power play online, I mailed a thick envelope to her apartment, the address listed on one of Nate's old Amazon orders. Inside? A full, itemized breakdown of everything he spent on her using our joint account. Hotels, dinners, gifts. Even the necklace I saw in one of her selfies, listed clearly as, custom engraving, JM, always. Attached was a polite cover letter from my attorney stating the funds were being contested as marital assets. And if necessary, we'd be pursuing legal action against all involved parties. Because you see, the thing Jess didn't know? She wasn't just a side piece, she was a financial liability. A liability with a paper trail. I never heard back from her. But her Instagram went dark a few days later. No more smug captions. No more stolen hoodie selfies. Nothing. As for Nate, the silence has been golden. Once the legal documents hit, he stopped texting. My lawyer's handling the rest. Now I wake up in my own bed. In my own house. With locks he can't open and a life he no longer gets to touch. I drink my coffee slow. I play music loud. And I no longer check the door expecting anyone to walk through it. Because no one's coming to rescue me. I already did that myself. This wasn't a story about a man cheating. It was a story about a woman watching her whole world burn, and deciding to rise from the ashes anyway. And honestly, I've never felt more alive.